evolution of gonorrhea in particular. So let's talk a little bit about gonorrhea, because I want to make sure that we get to some of the diseases that there is not as much publicity, marketing, or fanfare for. So I know, having been in the HIV space, there is, especially with some of the new drugs that are coming out, there's a lot more public education about HIV, particularly in some of the smaller populations. So I want to bring that one in, because I don't think, at least in my estimation, there's not enough conversation around like gonorrhea and syphilis. It's kind of like, oh, if it can be treated,
Yeah,
you don't have to
usually when someone comes into the clinic and they test positive for chlamydia, they're usually also given the treatment for gonorrhea.
Okay.
They tend to, for some strange reason, you tend to see them together. It's very rare where I see a clinician just treat for chlamydia or just treat for gonorrhea. They'll usually treat for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Gonorrhea and Neisseria, it has been around forever. These are not new infections. However, the bug is mutating. And so I cannot remember the first drug when I first came into the health department that we were using for it. But it came to the point that we were given this drug for people who had gonorrhea, and they would come back 3 months later and they would tell us they have not had sex, but they would still test positive for it. The drug, the bacteria was still there. And when they tested them, they found that the bacteria that was present in their genitals had mutated. And so the drug that we gave didn't affect it. And so it was just allowed to proliferate. They were like, oh, so you killed all the weak ones off. Ha! I'm still here. And so they would still have gonorrhea. The problem is that comes when you've taken that mutated strain and you went, because you figured you would treat it, right? Mm-hmm. And so you went and you had sex, but you had a mutated form of gonorrhea. So now you've passed that mutated strain on to the next person. So even when they go to the doctor and the doctor looks and they're like, oh, you have gonorrhea, gives them the regular schmegular old treatment for it, it doesn't work. And they still have it. And you can still get pelvic inflammatory disease. Gonorrhea is a beast. Who dies of gonorrhea? I mean, so we've had to cycle drugs to treat it over time and combine it with the medication for chlamydia in hopes of killing the bacteria so that it does not proliferate. The mutated strain doesn't proliferate. And I want to say, I'm trying to remember the protocols to the health department, but the health departments in this country actually do now test to see if there is a mutated strain. Don't they test? They don't test every sample. They test like 1 out of 100 samples or something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's the random population sampling.
Yeah.
And so they catch the random population sampling and then they use it to extrapolate what's happening with the larger portion of the population.
Exactly. So the health departments in this country really are testing. They want to make sure that of the people who have gonorrhea in their population, the mutated strains, the number of people with a mutated strain is not growing.
Right.
Because that would mean that the medication we're giving is not working.
So,
and for gonorrhea, you want to talk about a green to yellowy discharge. Your penis will still turn into a blowtorch, ladies. Ladies, that green and yellow discharge hit different. Please understand that green is not a normal color to come out of your genitals. And I have to say this. I have to say it because the number of people who will say, oh, she was just excited, so her stuff turned green. Sir. Or the girl who gave oral sex and she was like, he was just excited. It was all yellow and green.
No, ma'am.
Do you hear you? Do you hear you?
The rainbow should not come out of there. There you go.
Oh my God, these are not Skittles. Don't taste this. Don't taste this. And I had, I've had to look at people and find the strength to fix my face when I'm like, honey, green is not a normal color. Please don't put this in your mouth again.
One of the